this is what we have to do tonight. If you're already being visited. Jesus said he said, how I long to gather you as a hen gathers her chicks. But he said, you would not have it. Now, he was sent to them, to the lost sheep of Israel. So he said, I wanted to gather you, unity. That was his whole goal. And that's what Paul's preaching, okay? But you would not have it. So the people that he was sent to would not have it, according to him. Okay, but you got to remember that when he was born, that shepherds came and magicians came. The Magi were magicians. They came because of the star. They didn't come because of the Christ. They came because of the star. They knew a king was going to be born, but they didn't say Messiah. They were magicians. Just get over it. They were magi. It's just short for magician. Okay, so the magicians were notified. The shepherds were notified. Where were the Pharisees? Because literally, if you look at all their writings, they were assigned over the people to watch for the Messiah. They were literally stewards. And that's, if you look at what Jesus was always saying to them, he was talking to them as though they were assigned and they were putting bondages on people instead of taking them off. They had created within the house of God and made it a den of thieves instead of a house of prayer. If you think about all the things he was saying to them, you sons of the devil, you vipers. He was coming against them because they were not stewarding it right. Where were the Pharisees when Jesus was in the manger? They should have been the first ones to be notified that he had come. The magicians knew about it and the shepherds knew about it. Now think about this. Okay, so now, in this day that we live in, why is it that everyone is waiting for some sort of leader to come up and lead the people? When literally, God has already spoken through his Son, and his Son has said that the foundation has been laid, and now the building that is being built is all of us together, joined knitly together as a puzzle that is predetermined shapes that fit in, is what it says. If you do the study, Paul's using words that mean that we're intricately connected together. So God in these days is speaking through his Son, through the body. The body is supposed to be built up by the fivefold ministry of the church. That's what it says in Ephesians. It says that the fivefold is set in the church. God sets in the church some to be apostles, prophets, pastors, teachers, and evangelists. God sets those in the church. You don't go online and print out your certificate and become a prophet. You don't take a course and become a prophet. God sets in the church some to be, not all. And why does everybody want to be a prophet or an apostle? They discern that there's some sort of rank or something. But in the scripture, if you want to bring the Bible into it, the Bible clearly says through Paul that the fivefold ministry of the church is to build up the body. It says to bring them into the fullness and maturity. It talks about the unity of the faith and the maturity of the saints, so that they, if you read the discussion through chapter 4, Paul is saying that the body is supposed to be going out and ministering. No, just read it yourself. Y'all looking at me like you're shocked. Paul said that the fivefold was assigned to the church to build them up until they reach maturity and unity. So why are we still in diapers? Okay, so you know now, but you just reverse engineer it. So literally the church is waiting for someone to rise up and be a leader. When actually, in the day that we live in, the church is the leader. Corporately. There are no superheroes. When I was in heaven, there are no superheroes. Jesus called me Kevin. He didn't call me anything else except Kevin. He didn't talk down to me. He didn't talk up to me. He just talked straight across to me. And he said, I have done everything that I'm going to do. And I am seated now. He said that we are co-heirs. That's what Paul said. He said we're fellow heirs with Jesus, heirs of God, but co-heirs with Jesus. This is not foreign to all of us. Okay, so what does that mean? Everything that Jesus bought, we get too. Which, when you're in heaven, he talks to you equally, which will get you kicked out of church down here. And that's why Peter, in 2 Peter chapter 1, he says this, that through the promises that Jesus got for us, through these precious promises, we can become partakers of the divine nature. That will get you kicked out of church. Out of the first service. You won't even make it to the second service. Partakers of the divine nature. You know what it says in the original language? The same thing. But you know what happens? When you look at the commentaries, no one wants to comment on it. All the scholars opt out. Why? Because they can't explain it any other way, so they just leave it go. Okay, so all of us in here, according to Jesus, if you want to bring him into it, he said, if you all agree as touching any one thing, it shall be done for you. He said, in fact, if two or more are gathered in my name, I will be there in the midst of you. Okay, why? Because he is the power of attorney. And he is the one that will notarize the document. So whatever we agree on, he's in the midst of us to seal it as done. So whatever we ask, whatever we agree on, it shall be done for us. Okay, so in the times past, we've had the Word and Faith movement, we've had the prophetic movement and the pathetic movement. We've had all these different movements, but in these days, God is speaking to us through his Son, and the Son is the head of the church. We are his body, he is the head. We're co-heirs. So we're partakers, partners in the divine nature, which means what Jesus said that no one will comment on too as well. He said, listen, I no longer call you servants. Because he said servants are in a house and they are not intimately involved in the master's affairs. It says business affairs. But he said, I call you friends. In other words, you are involved in all the dealings of the kingdom. Jesus said, because I call you friends, you are part of this. That is what he did on the cross. It wasn't just to keep you out of hell. It wasn't just fire insurance. And that's what a lot of people think their salvation is that they're not going to hell. But that is just the beginning. You've got to take accountability and you can't give up. This is what you do tonight. You're being visited. Jesus said he was visiting them, but you wouldn't have it. And this is what he said, you did not discern your day of visitation. So what you need is, you need a leader to come and tell you you're being visited. But after that, you all better look at this as the limitations have been taken off, because we have so much available to us that even if we got back to the book of Acts, we wouldn't even be anywhere but the starting point. In heaven, I saw from the beginning, this is the way God had it. So down here, if you go and you start talking from that realm to people, and you start just preaching Paul again, you become like, oh, this is some new doctrine. It's like some new thing. Like, I don't hear this in church. You got to be kidding. I was a flight attendant for 30 years. My wife's a hairdresser, had a hairdress business. We were working all the time. I had been to heaven and I never talked about it. For 13 years, I never said a word. I didn't write a book. I could have wrote a book and made millions. When I did announce it, I had an offer from Sony for a movie and Simon & Schuster for a book. And I said no to all of it because they wanted me to change everything. You can't talk about tongues. What can I say? Praying in the Spirit. We'll think about it. Well, they've never gotten back to me. So they're going to change everything. They're going to change the script. And this is what I realize is that if you want to stand up for what's the truth, you're going to be a history maker. And everybody's going to think, oh, the boy that came back from heaven. And I am no different than any of you. What happened was I went in for an operation and God snatched me and did something that I didn't deserve. He gave me a second chance to come back and do it right. And I'm telling you all, grab the fire that's in this room, the fire of the Spirit. Grab because I was sent back to light you up. I am not a superhero. I am no better than any of you. I was sent back. I met the Jesus that purchased you. I met the Jesus that loves you. I met the Jesus that is right now, he is ecstatic that he's being talked about. He's so happy that someone's talking about him instead of themselves. I'm telling you, all of us together are going to do this. All of us. You need to rise up in your spirit and realize that we are being visited, but we're about to go into habitation, which means the Father's coming.